In one of the world's oldest industries, something amazing is happening, a quiet revolution. And it's not about bigger tractors or stronger pesticides. It's about something you can't even see, data. So today, we're going to dive into how artificial intelligence is changing everything in agriculture, literally one text message and one sensor at a time.
But, let's not start with the tech. Let's start with a person. Meet G. Chinavinkateswarlu, a farmer in India. For him, this whole digital revolution wasn't some fancy, complicated machine. Nope, it was a simple, powerful piece of advice that completely changed his harvest and his life.
So, our story really kicks off in the fields of Andhra Pradesh, where thousands of farmers just like him started looking at their phones, waiting for a totally new kind of signal before they'd even think about planting their seeds.
I mean, for generations, farming was all about legacy, right? Wisdom passed down from father to son. The whole rhythm of planting was dictated by tradition, and more importantly, by the timing of the monsoon rains. And for centuries, that worked. It was a pattern you could count on.
But then, climate change started to throw a wrench in the works. Suddenly, those reliable monsoons weren't so reliable anymore, and that turned all that age-old wisdom into a massive gamble. Guess wrong on when to sow, you could lose your entire crop, and for these farmers, that's financially devastating.
So, where did the solution come from? Not from some giant new tractor. It arrived right in the palm of their hands. That new signal they were waiting for, it was just a simple text message. And it told them the one thing they needed to know more than anything else, the absolute perfect day to plant their seeds.
Okay, so this is where it gets really interesting. What kind of tech is so powerful, but at the same time so simple, that its most crucial advice comes in a text message? Let's break it down.
Well, here it is, the AI Sowing app. It's a project from Microsoft and ICRISAT, the International Crop Research Institute. And the genius of this thing is how simple it is for the farmer. You don't need expensive gear, you don't even need a smartphone. All you need is a basic phone that can get a text.
Okay, but behind that super simple text is some seriously sophisticated stuff. First, the AI chews through more than 30 years of local weather data. Then, it figures out something called the Moisture Adequacy Index. Just think of it like a thirst score for the soil. Is there enough water for a seed to actually grow? That's the question it answers. And based on that score, the AI nails down the perfect week to plant, and boom, it sends out the alert.
So, did it work? Oh yeah. And we're not talking about a small improvement here. Farmers who listened to the AI's advice saw their yields jump by an average of 30%. 30%! For a small farmer, that's not just a little extra money. That is absolutely life-changing. And get this tech isn't just a one-trick pony. The same basic idea is being used for all sorts of things. They're sending out automated voice calls to warn about pest attacks on cotton. They're even helping governments predict the future prices of important crops. It's pretty incredible. Okay, let's zoom out for a second. Because this story in India, it's really just one piece of a much, much bigger puzzle. We're talking about a massive global shift in how we do farming. This whole movement has a name. It's called precision agriculture. And it's basically a strategy that uses a whole toolbox of modern tech, the Internet of Things, AI, tons of sensors, to make farming smarter. The goal is to be more efficient, get better yields, and be more sustainable, all by using data to make decisions instead of just relying on tradition.
And this timeline? Wow, it really shows you how fast things have changed. I mean, we started with Ag 1.0, which was all manual labor and animals. Then we got Ag 2.0, the Green Revolution, with tractors and fertilizers. Ag 3.0 brought in early precision stuff like GPS. And now, we're deep into Ag 4.0 and 5.0, where farms are basically becoming these giant, interconnected digital ecosystems, all running on IoT, AI, and big data.
So what's the foundation of this new era? It's not the soil anymore, it's the sensors. You can think of these little devices as creating a digital nervous system for the entire farm, stretching across every single field.
And what connects this whole network? That's the Internet of Things, or IoT. It's basically the backbone that lets all these sensors talk to each other, so they can feed information to a central system in real time, which allows for some incredible stuff, like automatically controlling the irrigation or putting down exactly the right amount of fertilizer. So what are these sensors actually doing out there in the field? Well, you've got soil sensors measuring things like moisture, pH, and nutrients. That means a farmer can give a plant the exact amount of water and fertilizer it needs, no waste. Then there are plant stress sensors.
They can spot tiny changes in the color of a leaf, which can signal disease or pests way before a person would ever notice. And of course, you've got GPS sensors guiding automated tractors with incredible precision. That saves fuel and is actually better for the soil.
All right, so this all sounds amazing, right? But let's be real for a minute and look at the road ahead. This whole tech transformation has incredible promise, but it also comes with some very real challenges.
On the one hand, the promise is huge, right? We're talking higher yields, way less waste, and farming that's better for the planet. But on the other hand, there are some serious hurdles. The cost to get started is high, and that could create a big divide between huge corporate farms and smaller family farms. Then you've got to worry about data security, getting a good internet connection out in the middle of nowhere, and the fact that farmers now need to be pretty tech-savvy.
And if we dig a little deeper, the problems get even trickier. Like, who actually owns all the data a farm produces? Is it the farmer or the company that made the tractor? And how do we protect our food supply when it's all connected to the internet and vulnerable to cyber attacks? Not to mention, how do you get all this different gear from different companies to actually talk to each other? These are big, big questions.
So that really brings us to the heart of the matter. For this smart farming revolution to actually work for everyone, the tech can't just be powerful. It has to be accessible for farms of all sizes. It has to be secure. And it has to be affordable enough that a farmer can actually see a benefit, not just the giant corporations.
And that leaves us with one last really important question to think about. Look, the technology we've talked about today has the potential to help us feed a growing planet in a much more sustainable way. That's huge. But as we move forward, the big question is, can we make sure this power is available to everybody? Can a smart farm also be a small farm? Because honestly, the answer to that question is going to shape the future of food for all of us.